But nowadays, the Japanese product is cheaper than Chinese.
But they still cannot uphold the brand. That's why they are selling components, because components doesn't require any brand image. Basically, that requires high quality at a
Component,
reasonable
okay,
price.
but they cannot sell as a product.
Right, because of the brand. So that's why I wanted to focus on brand today.
No, my question is how come Japanese famous brand is turned out to be the lower graded brand?
Because you need to also realize, what does the brand, Japanese brand image mean in the eyes of the Western customers. For Western customers, Japanese brand meant a rational choice, because it was a good product at a lower price point. That is what Japanese meant. It didn't really give people the idea like, oh, I'm so sexy with my Japanese car. No, it didn't make them feel sexy, but it was a rational decision. So why would I pay more for a German car if I can get the same quality at a lower price point? That was the Japanese brand. That's what people identified with. But now they can get, why would I pay more for a Japanese car than for a Korean car, for example, where I can get the quality that I want at a price point that is lower than the Japanese car. Actually, a lot of German cars are not that much more expensive than the Japanese cars anymore. So the unique advantage that Japanese products had, it no longer has. So what Japanese manufacturers failed to do is to build up a brand image that would really inspire people to come back to the same brand over and over again. I don't think that many consumers in Europe would care so much whether they would buy a Honda, a Toyota, or a Nissan. It's the same. The design is not that different. The brand image is not that different. It's Japanese, that's all we know. But it doesn't give, I don't get a warmer feeling from a Nissan than from a Toyota, for example. Why is that? They're not differentiating from each other, let alone from other brands in other countries. So that is really, if you really want to build up a loyal group of customers, a loyal group of followers that would automatically prefer and look into your products first, you need to build up a brand, something of a loyalty towards the product that you're making. And I don't think Japanese manufacturers are very good at that.
What is the reason of they are losing brand?
Because, good question, because I feel that Japanese makers, Japanese manufacturers are not really in touch with their consumers. They have been developing products because they just reverse engineered the cars that were made in Western countries. They basically copied the ideas, but they made them better. So they basically provided more value but without actually learning the deeper psychology, without developing a true relationship with that client. So they sold the car and that's it. That's the end of the relationship. Without building up a loyalty program, without really learning and understanding what drives those people to buy that car and use that to develop their next cars. They completely focused on the Japanese market to try and understand the Japanese customer. The Japanese customer is different from the rest of the world.
This is the point I want to discuss with you, okay? You said, Japanese manufacturer, they try to recognize customers' need and requirement, right? But consider for that like a Nikkei newspaper.
But that's not what I said. They don't look at what the customer wants. They look at what the competition is offering. They copy that, make it better, and sell it at a price point that is lower than what the competition is doing. So what I'm claiming is that Japanese manufacturers have been very successful, not by understanding their customers and what the customers want, but by looking very carefully at what the competition was doing, copying that, and bringing it back under the same image. So basically saying we are the same but better and cheaper. So we are not trying to be different, but that proposition doesn't no longer works because now there are other manufacturers that can also bring the same at a good quality at a lower price point. But because Japanese cars never try to differentiate themselves, I think so. How maybe I'm wrong. I'm not really that deep into cars, but how is Nissan trying to brand themselves in the world? What is the message that Nissan is giving to the world? There is no message. No. At least I don't know. I've never tried to buy a Nissan, so I don't know exactly what they're trying to sell. But what exactly are you buying when you buy a Nissan? Okay, you buy a car, but is there any image to that car? Is it reasonable? Is it?
Yeah,
I don't
just
know.
only Japanese maker because they have a second brand. I mean, the high brand like Infinity in the North America, but in Europe, Infinity doesn't. How can I say
It doesn't ring any bells.
Yes.
Exist?
Yes. So that's why the Infinity, when even in Acura from Honda,
Yeah.
it's only North America because North America don't have any historical branding thing. So that's why.
And
they can do
actually,
that. Yeah.
there's also another point, because America, with the exception, I think maybe of Ford, they don't produce many cars in that category.
Oh yes. Yes.
There is a big hole in that category. European makers have been focusing on making cars for the middle class and making good money for that, like Volkswagen and Peugeot, Renault. These manufacturers really try to make cars for the middle class. So that's a very crowded market segment in Europe. In the United States, they have actually been making big cars.
Why Japanese car maker cannot produce kind of innovative
Because
product?
they don't know their customers. They don't know their customers. They are not in touch with their customers. They have been branding themselves, maybe subconsciously, as we are the same as the other ones, but we are better and cheaper.
I tell you,
So
Japanese
they
customer
tried
is
not to be
very
different.
conservative, is it?
Yes.
Okay, I want to say that. Nikkei newspaper journalist told me before, they very much keen about their customer. Okay, so they just only try to write articles. Japanese people like it. If they don't like it, they never write it down, right? So very few global news. NHK is the same. Japanese people don't like to know about Germany. Don't like to know Britain. Only Brexit they're interested in. Only Brexit they're going to write it down. But any other issues and North Ireland they don't concern or they don't write the article. This is Japanese people, right?
Well, to be fair, I think that is generally true in the whole world. There are not that many newspapers who actually write what's happening around the world because people have a tendency to be more interested in what's happening in their street, maybe in their city, maybe in their country. But outside of their country, they're not that interested. Look what's happening. But Brexit is basically the same. We don't care about Europe. We only care about ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's not only Nikkei Shimbun, it's something that's happening all over the world.
In car manufacturer, it's like in England. So have you had a Top Gear? Like
Yeah.
Top Gear is like sometimes we writing about the new car. Is sometimes this car suck or something. They use a really terrible or bad word.
Yeah.
But in Japan, so the some writer want to write about new car from Japanese maker. So it's gonna be difficult to write a critical thing.
Right.
So I think this is a big difference between the Europe and Japan. I don't know the US, but at least the Europe, so people can write what they want.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a big difference between Europe and
Oh,
Japan.
yeah,
Only
yeah.
in the industrial car journal.
Yeah. No. I think it's absolutely true. But given that everybody is more focused on what is relevant to them, you also need to appeal to them. So you can say, okay, I'm a Japanese car. So what? You're a Japanese car. I don't care about Japanese car. I want to see what you have to offer. What exactly are you? What do you stand for? But Japanese makers wouldn't know it because they don't have any contact. They wouldn't know what to say. They don't have any contact with the local market because they don't really get to know their local market. If they are sending Japanese people overseas, they do that for a period no longer than 3 years, and then they come back. So they don't commit to that country. Then the country don't commit to the Japanese brand. So they buy it as long as they get a better deal, because it really makes sense to do so. But if you can no longer make products that really stand out technically, then you need to have a story that supports people in their decisions. Japanese car makers, they don't create a story, in my opinion.
Basically